So it's happened, I've bought a business. I bought a first aid and CPR training business in Perth, Australia. It has no employees. The current owner operator, well, he's retiring, so I'm going to be on my own in this business and I don't know much about it. There is a big risk that revenues fall off a cliff when the retiring owner steps away. I also wasn't fully qualified to deliver the classes myself, nor did I know anything about first aid and CPR training, let alone ever delivered a class or anything like that. It's a tiny business. It's sub 400,000 in revenue, so that's well below what a lot of searchers who are looking for an acquisition in a private business, even for their first one, most people are looking for 750 to $1 million in EBITDA. This was 400K in revenue, so really small. There's also plenty of competition in this space, and it's in the city of Perth, which I don't know anything about, and it's not where I live, so I will also have to move. So yeah, I know these will be the reasons why I have many doubters out there, and probably fair enough. Luckily, I'm still invested heavily in stocks. That is my savings account, so I use Interactive Brokers for this, and I trust this account a lot. Thank God they give me access to international stocks. I've been able to invest and study some of the best businesses in the world through this. If I didn't have Interactive Brokers, I probably would have never invested in Technion or KPG or some businesses like that. And I wouldn't have found this serial acquirer model maybe as much, or I wouldn't have loved it as much because I wouldn't have been following those companies long. Anyway, Interactive Brokers has given me the opportunity to invest in companies all over the world. There's a link in the description for that. Highly recommend. So the first question I get is mostly from my stunned family and friends that I bought a business is, well, what led me to buy a business? Now, I think after 5 years of not building anything, I was mentally ready to build something. I was mentally ready for a serious challenge in my life. I wanted to do something that I love with my time, and what I do love is growing my wealth and planning into the future. I like the idea that every day I take a step a little closer to a better future. I don't have an exact destination in mind. Sure, I have goals with this particular business that I'm buying, but I wanted to do something where I enjoyed the journey far more than whatever that destination is. Now, my love for serial acquirers is quite obvious for those who've been following my channel for a little while. Just look at any of my portfolio videos and you'll see. And although I know many people try and fail at building a holdco or a conglomerate or a roll-up, I think if I didn't try, I would always wish I had tried. And this YouTube channel started it all, actually. So I've always been interested in investing, but when I sat down and really looked at like Constellation Software and the early Berkshire Hathaway days, and then Technion, specifically back in 2022, that what sparked my interest. Now, I'm not trying to say that I'm going to build a company anywhere like these. Well, not at all. I'm trying to build my own thing with my own fingerprint all over it and doing it in my own way. But and I'd like to think this is the first acquisition of many, but I've got to essentially survive the first one. And I can tell you now, I feel like I'm in survival mode right at the moment. Maybe I'm just starting to get through like the feeling of drowning that I've been having for the last couple of months. So my search started back in December 2023. That is when I first started scouring the internet for possible businesses to buy. I developed my search criteria and I was trying to find something. I've shared my search criteria in previous videos here, so I won't go through it all again, but just search for criteria on my YouTube channel and you'll find those videos. And I turned over many rocks in those early few weeks and months. Every day I was investigating something new. There was either a fume cabinet business or a flagpole manufacturer, a signage installer, lots of little niches and things to explore. It was a lot of fun. I was looking in the Netherlands, I was looking in England, I was looking in Australia. But at the end of the day, I knew I wanted to make a decision. So I guess it was a bit serendipitous. I was putting in the effort to find something and something came to me. So just a random day in February, I saw the first aid and CPR training business listing. It was deep on a listing website, not on the front page or anything like that, like deep in the listings. I must have looked at a few thousand listings over that time and closely looked at maybe 20, 30 companies in detail. But this one got my attention. It got my attention because I personally used to be a school teacher. So I have experience teaching, and I guess this is in the education space, so there was some relationship there I could draw from my previous experiences, but I know that was a bit of a stretch, but at least it was something. Anyway, I contacted the broker, asked my initial questions, and started gathering the data that I needed to make a decision. Now, I know I rattled off a lot of the negatives at the start of this video, but obviously there were a lot of positives to go with that. So let me go through some of those. So how it works in Australia is that many industries require certain employees to have first aid and CPR qualifications. Therefore, it's a regulatory requirement and it's reoccurring. So each year, CPR has to be updated to stay current and legal for many people to continue working. And I really like this part a lot. It's mostly B2B, non-discretionary spending, so I really like that. It serves quite a specific niche part of the market in the first aid CPR training world. They focus specifically on childcare centres and gym employees. And the whole market of first aid CPR training, it's quite a large market, far larger than you would probably think. And it's relatively fragmented, so plenty of potential future acquisitions are in this space. It's a really sleepy industry, it's not sexy at all. It doesn't require much CapEx, like hardly any. I have a pile of mannequins, but no machinery or complex equipment or anything like that. It had a diversified revenue base, so over 300 clients and well-distributed revenue across them. And to help build up some of my confidence, I went around with the seller for a few weeks to every class that he was teaching. I watched, I learned, and not only so I could understand the content, but also to get a best feel I could whether the clients would leave if the ownership changed. Now that was probably my biggest fear. And by going around to these classes, talking to some of the clients, figuring it, like just watching how the guy who was selling this business and how he was interacting with the clients, it actually gave me a lot of confidence that that the chances were quite low that this thing would drop off a cliff. I was just attempting to do a good of a job of due diligence as I could. I went through all the bank statements and tax statements over the past 5 years and rebuilt the financial statements. I asked a lot of questions with the owner. Like I said, I was going around to classes, but let me be really honest. I could never fully be ready or confident. The real test was going to start on day one. So I guess I was having to, maybe I was 70, 80% confident that I could pull this off. And I think that's actually pretty good. I think a lot of times when you're making a first acquisition like this, you're never going to be 100%. So I guess I just had to get as comfortable as I could and then decide whether I was going to pull the trigger or not. I did. I pulled the trigger. Now, for me, my day one was a horrible day. I think I'm going to make a whole video on how horrible my day one was. Day one of owning the business. I might get to that another day. I don't feel like talking about that now, I'll be honest. Anyway, early July was when the business officially changed hands over to me. I had to figure out where to live. I had to figure out how the business would work. I had to get all the banking set up and all the payment processing organized. I had to figure out as much as I could so things didn't collapse. I also had to learn how to run the classes. I had to learn all the medical content and get qualified in Australia just to teach the classes, which requires, if you wanted to know, it requires a Cert 4 in training and assessing. This isn't a simple qualification to get, but I had no employees. It was me and the seller. And the seller, he's a great guy and he's been great with this transition. So he was going to help me a lot along the way here, which is good. And he's still helping me out now. I get him for a 3-month period after closing. So I'm still in that transition now. But yeah, I bought myself a job. I've actually bought myself probably a few jobs because not only am I full-time teaching classes, which is most days, every day, I'm doing all the customer service, well, attempting to as best I can. I'm doing all the administrative tasks and all the emails, and then I'm doing all the compliance tasks because we are a regulated industry. I'm driving all the marketing. I'm the webmaster. I'm the cleaner. I'm head of recruitment because obviously I'm going to have to hire. Essentially, I'm doing it all for now. In the first 30 days after closing, wow, that had to be the most intense 30 days I have had in a long time. I just wasn't used to, I think, waking up at 6 a.m. and going flat out non-stop to 11 p.m. and being kind of stressed about it the whole time, and then sleeping kind of stressed. So I'm probably just thinking it's intense because I haven't worked hard for a long time and I'm probably kind of weak. So that's what I'm putting down to. I'm starting to get better now, by the way. But yeah, damn, I did feel alive. I now have gotten through, I think, about 50 days now or so now, and I can happily say that I am loving it, and I haven't felt this alive in a long time. I'll go through the deal structure and how horrible that closing day was in another video, but yeah, hit me with questions here in YouTube, here in the comments, or over on Discord. I have a link in the description for that. Yeah, okay, I hope that was of interest.